So you recovered from Easter weekend?
Yes, just barely. How about you?
They start in Friday nights, Friday, Sunday, and then Tuesday, Thursday.
So Jim got on his camel at the one that's got the short straw there. Does your goal
Well, you anyway. So I get I'm not sure. Yeah.
here to the podium.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah.
Lions and tigers and bears will smile.
You'll see it.
They'll tell you why. Too. It was not pretty. A week forever.
Everything tastes better with you. That's kind of what I meant. I mean, it doesn't go through a lot of bureaucracy. No, money all gets over the way. Looks like you had a bit of person around here.
don't mess around with their routine.
Yeah.
It's just not,
But then, that's a lot of drinks.
Cash had Canada, even if he and he leaves it everywhere.
2 days later, my wife, this Christmas, we never know what to buy each other. It's not like we send some money over.
You guys always have the frozen in hand?
Through the guy. We told her before, and they immediately said, oh, us too, because we can instead of people who were sure, that'd be good. We don't have to buy you either. They said, no, you should put it in the box. That's where it's got to be. I didn't know that Mike was getting their lives were going to go home. Quickly said, we want to be in result of that Christmas. It was my pleasure. And I told three people. People find out what people say.
Not the cheap stuff. It's under $6 a can.
Win-win
You're not supposed to, but everybody looks like
it tastes better with sauce.
you don't want all this one. Stop that. I hit it on the bottom and turned it over.
Didn't really know what to think of that brown. M&M what?
If you haven't signed up, 100%. They like what they like. You're not one one for everyone. It is ridiculously fun. Not drive there. I'm not sure.
I think if you take the
I'm just like. You can get retired when they have the food truck and then it's a little there. They
I'm not allowed to watch it. I watch it on
I'd look after it.
You need a shot?
Combination of things.
The other good one is,
So is he getting lots done around the house now?
and he comes down.
He's gonna have to check it.
It is, it's still on.
Yeah, like, well, yeah, it could be just.
Okay.
When I go. I like that one too. We had so much fun.
Three jobs. He's a part for something to manage.
That's correct.
Whatever he tries to do,
Well, yours are
do it full time with it, like, they're gonna get the amount of trade that goes on through China is
He was, and he went to Connecticut.
trading a lot with other countries. That treaty is that if one country gets picked on, like type of thing, like what Trump is doing, like all the countries band together and back to
I've always wanted to.
So right now, all the European
My hands are
Yeah, that's to play with the two of them though. I was having a great time. They were so many. Archer got
It's relatively new. There's dessert.
Well, I know Anheuser what area
Dessert for you.
Coke
Instead of you.
went after him.
But if we pull on the wall,
In the steel, the car auto manufacturer said, what are you doing to us?
okay, sure.
Raise the price.
Yeah, even just on POTUS, the series satellite channel, plays channel I looked at saying earlier today, never had an American accomplishment. But he's selling it in massive brainwash. And it's funny because we never in the week in Florida ran into anyone who admitted it. Like, so she had driven over for one day of our and her boyfriend was Canadian. I didn't want to bring it up.
And women were sleeping everywhere and their feet were tired.
Yeah, I was reading that they're making money on that part of the business. So,
You know, if I was Amazon, I would come across and say, okay, we will deliver the car.
And then actually tried to play the other side of the
We're taking advantage of give the money off to private people.
I mean, some of the stuff, I'm not sure he how much software is also going to do. Putting a tariff on all of it. They don't have enough to supply. So their lumber price is going to go up for all of it.
Good, I just want to say.
I don't want
He just makes all these things, but if he doesn't really have.
There is a reason why the youngest is taking some business.
Meals on Wheels.
we saw most of the world's products graduated
No, I don't know.
Down at Farmers Market.
Way out west.
You know what? They're dragging the health system because they all have black ones.
We had some pretty last coming along. I was hoping to get home for a weekend and get in there soon.
City Hall. Yeah.
So which one of the ladies
You do it.
Reluctantly? No.
Yeah, he's been in his condo in Toronto. I had to rent a condo.
Oh, I knew they had
I could say myself.
That's marvelous.
He loves it.
Land development.
You poor man. We
A good attitude. Just hope like in the next number of years, and then all of a sudden it really.
I'm not afraid of death, I just don't want to be there when it happens. I want to be like the old man, apparently who did everybody. Last we heard he was all babies and decided he was going to jail.
I just feel like a good thing.
Heard about the guy that worked all day.
I did though. I considered her at the
So relative to the last thing he said was, I've never been to see today.
Good problem.
That's right. Mom was where you?
Drop off, but
and he's agreed to talk to me about it. Red leg here. Paperwork all the time.
Yeah, that's true. Find a lot of them are
Obviously, we need to go in that direction anyway.
which is very well. The
He waited until I went by and then
I knew once the baby boomers got old, that would change.
okay, yeah.
But anyone that
Yeah, assisted living.
I also have 3 trial stays, so say, because she didn't speak English, and then I have to.
It is. We have friends.
You're frail in your age.
Start talking about her lip being.
Yeah, 100%.
Now, we can't understand her. Like a month ago, they finally diagnosed it. It's progressive. They're giving her about.
It wasn't about grade.
Too young.
Where was this?
People do. The next thing that will happen
Like the reason I would think that he maybe was hanging on.
No kidding.
How the universe works. That he still had all this reason to live, to learn, you know, so he wasn't giving up this to his life. I think
Well, his mind was working just fine.
better than most.
Yeah, like.
Go with the 4?
Yeah, 5.
5, okay.
Yeah, no, it's.
You know, I remember
Probably you're sketching them out.
2 or 3 weeks before we ate our brother's drive. I went over there one day and
Different kind of time.
somebody. I said, really? I said, not only that, they said,
Well, when I was said that's part of
she's off.
And he brought the donut in. And he didn't get over it. You're allowed to
Somebody
have
get
that.
our way. That's a big problem.
Yeah, like basically don't play Wrigley and he didn't talk to me and then he looked at me and put it underneath. Don't do that. Yeah, so I've been doing.
My father-in-law actually driving the not long enough.
That seems to be what
Watch out. He's a carrier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She lost, she couldn't hear anymore. She was losing it all. And it's like surprising that she kind of held on. I guess she had a good internal life, you know.
So we'll continue with the meeting. As we were lining up for dinner, Bill Green reminded me that today is the 50th anniversary of the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. Kind of a sad memory, but when I was in Atlanta last year at the International Convention, I had the privilege of going to the Civil Rights Museum, and Martin Luther King Jr. is from Atlanta, so there was a really moving displays there about civil rights and about him in particular, so it's particularly touching to me to think about his assassination. So anyway, a great museum and kind of a sad day for all of us. Yeah, club business. I think I mentioned this last week, but Bob Kieswetter had a birthday on the 31st of March.
29? 39?
He's 30 now. he was born in a leap year though, so he's 120. No wedding anniversaries this week, no club anniversaries. It's a slow week. In terms of club business, just so you know, this month is Maternal and Child Health Month for Rotarians. In fact, there's a conference in Taranto, Italy. Sounds like Toronto, but Taranto, Italy. How do you say it?
I think it's Taranto.
Taranto. That's my Italian. April 28th. So anyway, just keep that in mind. Maternal and Child Health Month this month. The PR committee, and Maria is working very hard to get us some more swag that we can wear, shirts and stuff. And Greg, yeah.
And Karen.
So that's going to happen pretty soon. So we'll be able to go online and buy shirts with the Kitchener Westmount logo on, and so that's coming up pretty soon, eh, Maria? Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. So VFL, keep selling those VFL tickets. I'm proud to say I hit the Century Club this week, so keep selling. Where I saw Neil here. Oh, did he take off already?
Yes.
He told me he was over 300, I think. So that's pretty amazing. And Bill Stevens was into my office this morning and brought me some more tickets. He's selling like crazy. So keep your pedal to the metal. The International Convention, of course, is the end of June, and a bunch of us have gotten tickets to rock the historic distillery district. It's the Saturday night, the 26th, I believe. And if you want to join us, just go online. 23rd, sorry. 23rd, if you want to join us, just go online, look for the host organizing committee events, and then you can buy the tickets to that. We're going to try to organize something in terms of transportation, and it's a one-night event. You're smiling because...
Well, because Leo was just suggesting that, yes, we should let them know sooner than later, because they book up pretty quick at Brentwood. And if we have a larger number, like right now, what are we at, maybe?
Well, I sold 10 tickets, and I know, Troy, you've got a couple more, and some other people have gone online to get tickets, so I'm thinking we're going to have 15, 16.
So can you let me know, whoever's interested in maybe getting transportation back and forth? And then this way here, we can let Leo know sooner than later?
I'm interested, so
Okay.
put me on the list.
Yeah.
Let Leo do the driving. Are you going to drive, Leo? Or?
They won't let me drive.
Why is that? So let Maria know if you want to come with us collectively to that event, and we'll drive home afterwards. It sounds like it's a great night. I don't think I've ever been to the distillery district in Toronto. It sounds good to me. Distillery sounds good. Sounds like fun. So that's it for me. Do any members have? Jerome's got his hand up there.
Yeah, I see Brad has skipped out now, but Brad had recently sent around an email asking for suggestions about renaming our flag lease program to something else. I know he's got some good response back, but if you have some ideas and you'd like to suggest a name for that, I'd ask you to follow up with Brad and take that in. And the other one is mark your calendars, because President's Night has been booked for June 28th.
June 28th. Mark that down. And who's the incoming president, by the way? Did we forget to name somebody for next year?
Yeah, I think so.
Of course, Jerome is the incoming president. You guys will be in great hands next year. You'll be done with me. Can't believe you survived.
Good memory is just real short.
Okay, get your 50-50 tickets out, folks.
Thanks to you guys.
Thanks to Jerome, the pot is a paltry $83 this week.
Still haven't got the date.
Yes, I saw the check somewhere.
Judy hasn't delivered it.
I think we're going to give it to Karen.
Interest on it.
We're giving the check to Karen so that it gets spent wisely. 196. The last three digits are 196.
Right after me.
That's 100 away, come on.
Really?
Mark Engel. Go ahead. Light blue. 214, 214.
That's actually me, I'm sorry guys, I gave you the wrong thing.
Did you guys switch?
No, I just gave a couple of those guys, but I didn't.
Okay. I thought you stole it from Gordon. Nope. Not even close. And ticket number 228.
So it was a good thing.
Jack Kinch. Verification. Yes. Good luck.
Oh, too bad.
It's in there.
Washing over me.
Thank you for your donation.
Blanket.
Thank you. Fill it up again.
And Rotary trivia, we have a nice, what do we got? A Pinot again? I keep stealing Dee's Pinot at home. She can't figure out why the fridge is always empty. What happened to the wine that you're drinking? Let's see. To the nearest $1,000, how much money did we net from bingo last fiscal year?
14,000.
Nope.
12. 9.
18, 5.
11.
16, 7.
22.
21,000.
13,000.
$1.
Bingo!
Todd was closest. It was 17. So you said 16.7, right? Anybody say 17? Did you say 17?
Yes.
Okay, well you can share with Todd. Let me get you mine. 17 grand. That's well, and thanks to Bill. I mean, he's the quarterback. Every second Thursday night he tells us what we're supposed to be doing. We forget by the time we go back to share.
If it isn't the 50-50,
It's the wine.
Yeah. Well, she'll make sure it works. Anyway, thanks again, Bill. I mean, Bill's there every second Thursday.
2 glasses, right?
And really, he's the the main reason we're making. You got us into it, and 17 grand a year, and it's great. That's net. So that's after a few expenses. And that's why he won the Gord Ferguson Community Service Award last year. Did you know that, Gord?
Yeah. No.
Do you what? Bill won the Gord Ferguson Community Service Award at the Christmas party last year.
Now they're dressed just the same, look at them.
Anyway, we couldn't have picked somebody better. Bill's been such an asset to our club. So as you folks have heard, we've got 2 incredibly good speakers today.
Yeah.
And you'll never guess what it's about. So Rick and Janice, please. Well, we all know Rick. Rick's a past president. He's the chair of our membership committee. He's recently retired. And Rick's going to give us a bit of a bio about Janice. Yeah, a good one.
I know some of you have met Jan before, but she was born in Calgary, and her father was worked in the armed forces, and so they did travel a fair bit. They made their way to Ontario, and I think it was around grade 5 that Bernie decided to set some roots in Guelph, Ontario, where Janice graduated from that other school in Guelph besides the one I went to. John F. Ross, and has a degree from the University of Guelph, as well as her teaching degree from the University of Western Ontario. She taught for 35 years, part of it in the Hull of Norfolk Board in the Brantford area, and most of it in Waterloo region. And so just give you a brief overview. And the reason why Janice is going to do most of the talking is because she paid the most amount of attention to all of the guides and stuff when we were on this trip. So if you were just relying on me, all you did was a bunch of pictures. So anyways, join me in welcoming Janice. She's going to do most of this part.
Janice, you want a mic or?
No, heavens no.
No, yeah, teacher's
I've
voice.
got a teacher voice, exactly. Rachel Carson wrote Silent Spring in the 1960s, and it was one of the books that I had to read. I didn't go to university in the 60s, but it was one of the books we had to read. I love Rachel Carson, and this quotation really strikes at my heart. One way to open your eyes to the unknown beauty, to ask yourself, what if I had never seen this before, and what if I would never see it again? So one of the things that I don't like vacations. I'm a little bit ADHD, a lot OCD, and I don't like vacations, but I do love to travel. To me, travel is more important than vacation. Actually getting to the heart of people and seeing what's to be seen in the world. So one of the things that was always on my bucket list was the Serengeti. I wanted to see the Great Migration. I wanted to go to the Serengeti Plain. I wanted to see Tanzania. And I wanted to see the Sahara. Frankly, I wanted to see whether that guy, Lawrence of Arabia, really was there, whether he was going to come on his white steed and sweep me off my feet. And I didn't believe that the sand dunes looked like they did in the movies. You know, fool me once, but I didn't believe it. So it was one of the things that I absolutely wanted to see. Can you put?
As soon as I find the arrow.
He's retired.
Okay. So, as a teacher, I was the head of the geography department and the earth science department. That's what my degree is in. And I had always hooked up with National Geographic. G-Adventure is one of the, thank you. G-Adventure is kind of an offshoot of the National Geographic program. Can you click on the link there, Rich? No, on the link. No, just on
They're married.
when Rick did he has peeps to do this for him, he says. So G-Adventure. G-Adventure is a travel website that it is a travel site. It is not a vacation site. And when you go to gadventures.com, they ask you to put in your destination. Where would you like to go? And then they have levels of trips. They have it arranged by how many days you want to spend and what is it you would like to do. There are 3 types of programs. One is called YOLO. You only live once. And the people that go on that have to be 30 or under. And then they have ones that are called the classic. And the classic adventures are people that are any variety of age from about 30 to in their 70s. Then they have the National Geographic trips. And the National Geographic trips are a bit more expensive, but the only difference between the classic and the National Geographic trips are the accommodations. So we opted for the classic. Okay, so, so this is the trip that I planned. We were going to go from Toronto to Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, pick up a plane in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, and head to Kilimanjaro. We were going to then spend time in Tanzania, and then from Kilimanjaro, we were going to go to Dubai, Dubai to Casablanca, Casablanca to Marrakesh, Marrakesh to Lisbon, and Lisbon home to Toronto. We're going to do a total of 29,000 miles. And originally I had planned to do it on my own, and then Rick said, well, I'd like to go for part of it. Then he retired and he decided he would like to go for all of it. So the two of us decided, okay, this is what we would do. Notice the connections. This is what we took.
Oh.
For 3 weeks, each of us were one backpack. I told Rick, unless you are planning to carry a lot of luggage and run through the airports, you are limited to one backpack. When he got over being in a fetal position, rocking back and forth, he decided, yeah, he could do this. So this is how we traveled for the 3 weeks plus in Africa. It was absolutely the best experience. It's extremely freeing to not carry a lot of stuff. And you can do it. You can do it, believe it or not. Okay, so part one was Arusha. This is the country of Tanzania, and there's a little island of Zanzibar off the coast here, and then the second part of the trip was in the country of Morocco. If you will notice, they are not a train's day apart from each other. As Rick suggested, when I said, it's going to be a really tight turnaround to get there, he said, well, can't we just take the train?
It's 8,000 kilometers. Now, who the hell
So we decided that we had so many connections and things like that, so we were going to do part one was a separate G adventure, take 2 days of travel to get to Morocco and do the second G adventure that we had scheduled. Okay. So flying in, we flew Air Ethiopia. Awesome, awesome airline, and flew into Kilimanjaro. So Kilimanjaro is a really nice little international airport, and it was just the start of something awesome.
You got the bulkhead,
Okay, so
right?
this was the trip.
Sorry?
You got the bulkhead?
I got lucky, yeah, because it showed up 4 hours before our flight, and the guy got me there, so I was lucky.
So the trip was Arusha to Lake Manyara, through the Serengeti, back to Ngorongoro Gorge, and then back to Arusha. So it was an enclosed loop of a trip, about 9 days, and it was camping, okay? It was camping. This, we all met up at this place in Tanzania. Arusha is a town of about 1 million people in Tanzania, and we arrived a day early, and we got to the Outpost Lodge. The rest of our group, there were 14 of us traveling. There would be then 2 jeeps that would take us through the Serengeti. 7 of those people were climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. So they hooked up with us in Arusha, and then we just met one night. They gave us the time, they gave us the place, and that's when we met our traveling group. This was a lovely, G Adventures guarantees 2 things. The places will be safe, the places will be clean. But they didn't tell us about the monkeys. Please, would guests occupying the A block of the room keep your windows closed to prevent the monkeys from entering and stealing things from your room. So they didn't really tell us about that. You'll notice the mosquito netting. You do need a crap load of shots before you go to Africa. Okay, so that's one of the drawbacks. They aren't covered by OHIP, but they are absolutely mandatory. You can't cross the border into Tanzania without showing your yellow fever. So, your yellow fever certificate. So, it guaranteed clean and safe, and it absolutely was. This is the town of Arusha. We went to Arusha a day early so that I could just hop a cab and tell the guy, take us around Arusha. The cab driver's name was Moses. Everybody's name is Moses. It absolutely astounded me. The people speak Swahili, but they are given names, but when they are baptized, they are Christian. So when they're baptized, if the priest can't pronounce their name, he gives them a name. So they're either Abraham or Moses, everybody. So Moses took us around for the day, and it cost us like, I think about $15 Canadian for Moses to take us around for the day. So the town of Arusha is about 1 million people, as I mentioned. And it is a very, we were there when Donald Trump referred to the African nations and the Caribbean nations as a shithole. It's not. It's a bit of a shit show, mind you. This is Arusha. Everything happens outside. The people cook outside, the people prepare food, they bathe, they manufacture, they live their lives outside. So it is a schmozzle of everything going on. So you can see how, if you were not a traveler, if you were just a vacationer, you'd think, oh my gosh, like seriously, what is going on here? This is the market. It's actually organized chaos. It's really awesome. The people from the countryside bring their stuff into this building, and these guys at the front pick up the stuff from the market, and then they take it to the restaurants, or they take it to the streets where they set up a little stand and they sell it. That's the bus system right here. It's very, very interesting. You can go as far as you want. Nobody really collects any fare. You kind of put something in the pot, and there's maybe 25 people in the van, and you know, like it just goes. It just happens. One of the things that's interesting, if you think about international development, it is still very much a country that relies on manpower. And I'm just talking specifically manpower, like pull carts and things like that. When you think about industrialization in a country and you choose to mechanize a country, you have to remember that you are going to throw hundreds of thousands of people out of work in those countries if you immediately decide mechanization is the route to go. And in Tanzania, they have not done that. They've recognized that small cooperatives and manpower is still a very, very important part of the economy. So the people are warm, the people are friendly, the people are awesome, awesome, awesome. Anyway, they really got like upset that we were wearing shorts. You can see the look the lady's giving me there. Not because they're Muslim, or not because they said this is winter time. It's only 24 degrees. How can you possibly be wearing shorts when it's only 24 degrees? But you can see the lack of organization, and it's awesome. It's awesome. So this is just your general street scene. This guy is preparing food in the courtyard, and what he's doing is the flies and the bees and stuff were everywhere. Sanitation is not for the faint of heart there. So if you just have to be careful. You don't drink water on the streets and things like that, but fresh fruit, all that kind of stuff, it's awesome. And I walked by and the guy said, hey, come have some watermelon. And I said, no, that's fine. He said, no, I'm not charging you. You come, you sit, you have some watermelon, you talk with us. And so that's what they want to do. Okay, so then we left Arusha. We all met, we got in our jeeps, and we started into Lake Manyara. And the first thing we do in the conservation area is we drive past this big honking snake sitting on the thing.
That's an African viper.
And so, of course, the girls are starting to go, there's snakes here? And I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be interesting. So this is Lake Manyara, and Lake Manyara is a conservation area. Tanzania has done a fabulous job. I spoke to a lot of the locals and a lot of the people. Poaching was a real problem, huge problem in Tanzania. The new government there has made a concerted effort to stop poaching. And the reason that they were stopping the way they stopped poaching is by just not allowing government officials from other countries to come in and poach. That's who was doing the poaching. The only problem they have now is bushmeat, people wanting bushmeat. And so what they have done is they have trickled down the effects of tourism so that the money is reaching the people now, so the people see the advantage of conserving the wildlife, which is the proper way to do this. And so all the government had to do was say, no, I'm sorry, you higher-ups in other countries, you cannot come in and poach. And it's over, and the people love this new president. So this is Lake Manyara, and Lake Manyara is known for its flamingos and its hippos. We happened to be there during the Great Migration. And the Great Migration saw 400,000 wildebeest and zebras moving through from Kenya to the Serengeti. And so there was just every animal you could possibly imagine. out and about and around. Ostrich, zebras. The zebras all come, we were there in January. The zebras all come pregnant from Kenya. I don't know what's happening up there, but they all come pregnant from Kenya. And they all drop their babies at the same time. In February in the Serengeti. So within 1 week you will see all of the babies dropped at the same time. And the reason for that is the nutrition in the grass is so awesome during rainy season, and it's a protection thing so that all the mothers and the parents of the babies can surround them. This is Easter at our house. No, sorry. Baboons everywhere. Everywhere you go. But this is a major road. Okay, so they call it the African massage. It's just like the road system in Tanzania leaves much to be desired, but it's awesome. And they don't slow down for the baboons. They just keep driving. They figure the baboons will get out of the way. And we were just kind of going, you're gonna hit the baboon. You know, it was just hilarious. Planetara is one of the projects that G Adventures supports. And G Adventures always works with local peoples. So this lady was going to take us to the village of Mutuwaba. And so what happened in this village is they have so many competing tribes in Tanzania that they created this village area where all of the tribes had equal access to all of the resources and had all of the equal access to the money from tourism. And so they're finding this is working really, really well. Again, another way that they're using grassroots tourism to move up through Tanzania. The kids wanted pee-pee. The kids would come up and ask for your pee-pee, which kind of was a little disconcerting at first. In Swahili, pee-pee means candy. So they all wanted pee-pee, and we were never allowed to give them pee-pee. But they did love to have their picture taken, and then you show them their picture. This particular village had artisans and carvers and weavers and all kinds of awesome things going on in that particular village to sustain them in tourism that went to the major centers in Africa. One of the things that they're soccer crazy. Oh my God, the Tanzanians are soccer nuts. And we happened to be there right in the middle of Dimi, Africa. So there was soccer everywhere. This looks kind of scary. This is a guy who's spraying his field. Believe it or not, they have rice fields in Tanzania, but it's a natural thing. He's using some algae from a pool that he had found and a bunch of ground up volcanic rock, and that's the pesticide that he's using there. And these two little cuties wanted our pee-pee all the time. They just followed us around. One of the things that the travel company does is they stop, and we have no cost or anything and no expectation, lunch with the local women. And so you see the stove there. They made us lunch, and they provided us with the local beer. And the local beer, which is also sold, is banana beer. Now, it's just, picture a banana, it's horrible. It's horrible. It's horrible. And the interesting thing is, you don't get your own cup. You have to pass the cup around the table. And again, you can't be squeamish. You can't kind of go, ooh, I'm not doing that, because that's very, very insulting. So again, it's travel, it's not vacation. So our accommodations through this whole thing was camping. So these were our tents. We traveled with 2 cooks and a tentsman. And the tentsman would come, he would take your tents down, he would go to the next place you were going to stay, and he would put your tents up. And so you had a number on your tent, and that was your tent the next night. They provided sleeping mats, but you had to carry your sleeping bag with you, and they would take care of your knapsacks and things like that, but it was tents. And they were very comfortable tents. A little short for Rick, but very comfortable tents. We're moving into the Maasai. Okay, next slide. And so this is Lake Mayanara, not what I expected of Tanzania at all. The vegetation, the trees, all that kind of stuff, I didn't expect that in Tanzania. I was brainwashed into thinking Tanzania was sort of this flat, arid plain, and it's not. Termite hills, huge, absolutely enormous. So those are everywhere, and they're actually a really interesting symbiotic ecosystem. The termites use them, and then the little ferrets use them. These are the jeeps that we had. They're pop-up jeeps. So the top pops up and the top piece here folds over. They actually had power cord power cord chargers in them as well. Sometimes they worked, sometimes they didn't, but so we had those too. The main tribe of northern Tanzania is the Maasai, and the Maasai are a very interesting tribe. They measure their wealth in cows and children. Not women, but cows and children. So the number of wives you can buy will then lead to the number of children. Children as young as this are out tending the cattle. It makes me laugh because I think here we've got 14-year-old kids that we're driving to school and we're packing their lunch and we're saying, you know, don't forget this, don't forget that. And we've got kids as young as this out attending to the family fortune in Africa. So I thought that was really a big disconnect. So this is the Maasai tribe. The wives then build a hut that looks like this. There's nothing in that hut, nothing. It's just a clay platform that they sleep on. There are no possessions. Everything they have, they wear on their backs. And this is what they wear. These are shukas, and the shukas then are tied around in various ways. And the women wear 3 of them. They tie one, and then they tie one as a skirt, and then they tie one as a cloak, and they wash the different pieces of them once a week. The men wear 2 of them, no clothes, no possessions. It was just astounding. I thought I would die of boredom if I had to live in this hut. But anyway, one of the projects that G Adventure does is installing cook stoves. Because the women have to do the cooking inside, they get emphysema, they get cancer, they get black lung, they get pneumonia. And so if you could find a way to vent the materials outside. So one of the things that we did, for the want of $75, you can put a cook stove into one of the huts. The people used to be nomadic. They are no longer nomadic because of the land area. They've had to become more sedentary, so the cook stoves now make sense. So you can see here the installation of one of the cook stoves by one of the women who has been trained by Planetaria, and it just makes all the difference in the world for the the condition of the air inside, the air quality. This guy down here in the corner, this is our guys. This is our guide. His name was Moses. Again, another Moses. But the guy next to him is 7 of 9. Now that sounds a little Star Wars-ish to you, or Star Trek-ish to you. He is the 7th son of the 9th wife. His dad is 108. He has 32 wives and 152 children. And the wives then build the huts. And I don't know what he does. Well, I know what he does.
It's good for a long life.
This woman up here, these are her kids, and you can see the younger ones tend the children as well. She was a little freaked out when she asked through Moses, how many cows Rick paid for me? And
I told her that actually her father paid me. I didn't see the humor in that, didn't get that.
They didn't get it. But so she said through Moses that I would be worth 7 cows because I had an education, and she could not for the life of her figure out why I wasn't wearing beads. Because if I was married and someone paid cows for me, I had to be wearing these beads. So it was really like not only a cultural for them, but cultural for us as well. Very interesting. The women are trained to put the stoves in because the men are out doing whatever it is they do. But you can see the materials there that are dropped off As soon as you have the $75 together, you can put, this is metal fabricated locally, and these are locally made bricks, and the women will then install, she's making mud right now to install the cook stove. One of the really cool things about the Maasai are the boys. When they reach the age of 12 to about 15, the boys are taken away from the family. And the boys are then isolated for 3 months, and they are then circumcised. And that is their rite of passage. If they can put up with the pain of the circumcision, then that makes them a man. It used to mean that they had to go out and catch a lion, but now with, of course, the hunting rights the way they are, they don't do that. But they identify themselves as in this way. They shave their heads, they paint themselves black, and these boys have already been circumcised, so they are in the process of healing right now. So they hang out kind of together. Serengeti. We went from there to the Serengeti, and the Serengeti is just exactly as you think it is. However, we got there at the beginning of the rainy season, so it was lovely and green and wonderful. And again, our tentsmen had already been there and put up our campsite for us, so that was really cool. We camped at, the Serengeti actually has campsites in it. And so the campsites have sort of semi-permanent cook places and stuff. So this is one of the cook places. It's interesting, the tables are concrete. Nobody steals the tables. And what they would do is they would get up, they would make us breakfast. They would pack us a little lunch to take out into our day, and then when we came home at night, they would have a pot of coffee on and stuff, and then they would feed us. And then the sun goes down and starts all over again the next day. We saw the Great Migration. 400,000 wildebeest and zebra all coming in from Tanzania. Or from Kenya. It was just absolutely unbelievable. It was almost like the buffalo would have been in the western part of Canada. The wildebeest, go back for a second. Wildebeest are considered to be nature's ugliest animal. And I didn't feel it that way at all, but they've got the head of a grasshopper, and they've got the horns of a goat, and they've got the body of a horse, and I mean, it's like they just kind of had all these leftover parts of animals and kind of stuck them together to create the wildebeest. But wildebeest and zebras, actually, they coexist very, very nicely together. Our driver was so cool. His name was Deo. And Deo took us around, but he had also 30 years earlier taken the Belgians around when they did the Lion King. So when they had found the places that they wanted to use in the animated version of the Lion King, so that's really Pride Rock. I just expected to see Simba up there, you know, it really was Pride Rock. So one of the things we said, of course, when you're out in there is if you have to go to the bathroom, you have to say, Deo, bushy, bushy. And Deo will kind of look around, make sure everything's okay. And so a couple of the girls had to go to the bathroom at Pride Rock here. So he said, well, just go around the other side of the rock. Well, when you went around the other side of the rock, that's what was standing there. So of course we walked back. Deo, there seems to be company over there. Oh no, he won't bother you. So back you go and bushy bushy with the giraffes. So it's kind of an interesting little thing. The men lay around and do nothing. Is that my outside voice? Is that my, oh, I mean the lions, the male lions. This is Mufasa, and Mufasa and his brothers here were just laying around doing nothing. They were lounging under the tree, but look at the grass. Like, notice how, like, that's not what you expect in the Serengeti, but in the rainy season, that's how absolutely awesome it is. The female lions tend to den up like this. So the females and the babies, you would drive right by them and never see them. The grass is about this high, you'd never see them. And they don't get active till about 10 or 11 in the morning because they don't like their feet wet, they're cats. And the Serengeti is wet. So at about 11 o'clock, they start thinking about dinner. And then of course, Mustafa and the guys are going, where's lunch? We're ready. And the other cats start to do the same thing. So it was like from here to the podium, away from these animals. Like, it just absolutely boggled the mind. You couldn't bushy at this point though. Like, it wasn't a good idea. No bushy now.
Most of these pictures I took with my camera phone. So,
Yeah, just
so.
his cell phone. And these guys, after they decided they brought down a wildebeest, so we watched that, and then look at her belly. She can barely move. So she comes and plops herself down beside a Jeep and decides, that's it, I'm done. So these two lionesses had decided that was it. And so of course you're not going anywhere for a while. So your plans on the Serengeti change, you know, all the time. They're very fluid. You're certainly not going to start driving away, but on the other hand, you got places you want to be and things you want to see. So it was really, really awesome. That's a stork. And that's a tree full of storks. The storks are about 4 feet tall, and they nest in the trees right at the very end, which absolutely astounded me that these huge birds could nest at the end, and they do that for protection against predators. Okay, so this is the circle of life. Okay, this is your Lion King thing. This sign says no picnics allowed, like fairly self-obvious. So the lioness brings down the wildebeest. The males come over, they eat. Then the female eats with the cubs. Then the hyenas come and they have lunch. And then the jackals are waiting, and then past the jackals you will see a flock of vultures, turkey vultures, or vulture kinds of things. And so it's just a nice little hierarchy. It's just, you know, everybody knows their place, nobody gets rushed, they all stand there with their little knife and fork and they're just ready. Hyenas are really bad if they smell blood. They will not bother you if they don't smell blood, but if they smell blood, it's really not a good idea to be out and around. Hippos are awesome. The hippo pool was full all the time. They only come out of the hippo pool at night, so we saw them as they were wandering out at night. They're the most dangerous animal on the Serengeti, the hippos. They run the fastest, and they also don't like people. Everything else kind of likes people. Well, doesn't like people, but they don't mind people. These guys really are called Pumbaa. Pumbaa, Mustafa, and Hakuna Matata is actually a real phrase from the Lion King. When the first guy had said to me, Hakuna Matata, he went to pick up my pack and I went to pick it up and he said, no, Hakuna Matata. I thought, is he making fun of me because I'm white? And I found out afterwards, no, that really is the Swahili word for no worries, I've got it. So I thought, okay. Okay, so this is the rainy season in the Serengeti. This is what it looks like. So it will be like that, and then that will all drain off, and then the rain will come again in another day or so. But you can see as far as the eye can see, just wildebeest and zebras mixed in. It's just unbelievable. Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden does exist, and it is Ngorongoro. Okay, just the next one. Yeah. Ngorongoro is a crater, and it's a crater that is just phenomenal because, if you want to hold it up, the crater is, the Ngorongoro crater is enclosed, so all the animals stay in the crater. And actually the world's last black remaining rhinos are in the crater. So they are all captured in the Ngorongoro crater. It's also where the Leakeys discovered Lucy and the start of mankind. So of human, like the what they considered to be human. So Ngorongoro was fabulous. Serengeti sunrise and sunset, just absolutely epic. This was hilarious. The rainy season caused a bit of a problem. It washed out a road on the way back to Arusha. So the road washed out, and so the person on the road said, anybody in a four-wheel Jeep, go out through the fields over here. So we, of course, had a four-wheel drive Jeep. So we went out through the fields to get around where the bridge had washed out. But the locals had put these big rocks in a barrier, and they were charging $10 for them to move the rocks so that you could get by. So of course that's their little tariff. We paid our little tariff, and then Dale took a run at it, managed it up in one thing, but of course we end up with 2 flat tires. So the guys get out of the van, start trying to fix the tires, and the rest of us had to kind of watch for animals. It was just way cool.
You couldn't get the lug nuts off, so that's what you see on jumping on the tire iron to try to loosen the suckers. And it wasn't that, 250 pounds, man. It took a lot of jumping to get to loosen them up, especially because of the weight that was on the Jeeps. But we managed to get it, and that was going pretty fast because, like I said, if you're out there, you have no idea who's going to pay you a visit. So.
And the luggage doesn't come. Your luggage doesn't necessarily come with you. So, like, if people, Rick's and ours always did, but the people that had packed luggage, those are going with your plainsmen, your tentsmen. So then we left Tanzania, and I'm just going to really quickly, I know people are at a time, through just, oh, okay, well, it's up to you. I don't know.
You okay with that, Ed? Because we still got the other half of it. We can always do it another time if you guys have to.
We're pretty much out of time.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
We can do the other part, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, yes, if anyone has any questions, we're happy to answer, or Jan will answer a few, because like I said, she paid way more attention than I did. We do have the other half of our trip, which we'll do for another time.
We spent in the Sahara Desert and did our camel trek through the Sahara.
So when you told people where you were from, did they have a concept of where Canada is?
No, actually the guides did, because the G Adventure is a Toronto-based group.
Yeah.
But I always carry a little map with me, and I always say, you're right here, and we're from way over here. So then they went, and I made sure I had a picture of snow on my phone, so that I could show the people Canada and snow and stuff like that. They were very interested in learning about where you came from, what you did, that kind of thing. And like people, they're just as curious about us as we are of them, and they want to know that kind of stuff.
Awesome. Anyone else have questions? Well, Janice, thank you very much, and Rick, for a trip of a lifetime, really. I'm envious. Yeah, it just shows you another world that you live in day to day. It's totally foreign to us. So you're right, travel is just a wonderful thing.
I just have to show you one that Rick is very proud of.
Capture a lion?
No, he didn't
Never
capture a lion.
He did not.
He did not capture a lion.
He did the circumcision.
Yeah, without anesthetic, yeah.
Oh. No. Yeah, I got it. I got it, Rick. Him on the camera. This is
Oh,
Rick.
yeah. Lawrence of Arabia.
That poor bugger didn't die, but he probably felt like it.
I kept hoping that Lawrence of Arabia would make his way out of the Sahara.
The way here is as close as you got.
Still waiting. Still waiting. Yeah, that's Rick and Ralph.
So if there might be another opportunity, we can come back to do the Casablanca, Morocco side of it, but thanks for your attention. It was awesome. Thank you guys.
Thanks very much. Something else for the good of Rotary? Meeting adjourned.